What is happening, everybody? I'm Larry Roberts.
And I'm Sarah Losi, and this is Branded, your comprehensive guide to creative branding.
And on this Outside the Box episode, we're going to be talking with Ashley Beck Cuellar, owner of Sales Spark Coaching, bringing modern relational sales coaching to teams, utilizing social selling and other outside-the-box tools to help you book more meetings. And I love that. And, we were talking a little bit in the green room, and Ashley already blew me away. I think she mentioned like 3 different tools I'd never even heard of. So I think this is going to be a super beneficial episode of the podcast, and I think you're going to take a lot away from it. So, Ashley, thank you so very much for joining us.
Of course. I'm excited to be with you guys.
I love the fact that in your bio, you mentioned that you're a sneakerhead. You're a dog person with a cat, which I kind of am too, a hot yoga instructor, a swim coach, and you have 7 tattoos, including a tramp stamp that your daughter calls your Maleficent horns. Yeah, I think that's just a testament to our we'll just say demographic, maybe.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. Yeah. I was 18. They were super cool. I didn't care who the artist was. I walked in the door, said, "Put this thing on me," and there it is. And then my daughter, one day, just out of nowhere, was like, "Mom, those kind of look like Maleficent horns." And
Can I ask what it's supposed to be?
What we used to call it before.
What are they supposed to be? Like Sarah was asking there.
It's supposed to be tribal art. It's like tribal art that goes like this.
Of course it is.
Of
course it is.
Just not good. And to get it covered up, I have to have like half my back and butt tattooed. And I'm just not into that. Not yet, anyway.
Okay, well, here, I'll make you feel a little bit better. I used to be much, much thinner. And I used to have what I considered an amazing 6-pack. I was in shape. And I went and I got this magnificent tribal tattoo right across my lower abdomen, right across my belly button. So I've got tribal that goes out to both sides of my belly button. And while it was a nice piece of artwork initially, it's not quite as nice today. So
it's like when women get pregnant, they tell you like, don't get stuff around your belly because it's going to stretch and look funny later.
I don't know. I didn't know there was that much ink in the tattoo. Honestly, I had no idea that it would cover so much area. But yeah,
I can't relate. I've never experienced a bad tattoo.
Yeah,
never.
I know that's a lie.
Never. What are you talking about?
I'm glad we all have that story in common, like a story of like permanent ink that we made a decision was good at one time and then became not so good.
In my defense, I immediately knew mine was bad.
But the worst part for mine is I remember distinctly laying on the table and my homeboy's going, "Dude, you're going to get older. You're going to get fat." And I'm like, "Bruh, I'm never getting fat. There's no freaking way. I'm never going to be there." And now here I am. I have a 1.5-foot tribal tattoo covering my ab. It's ridiculous. So my friends did try to tell me and I did not listen. So it happens that way. But
is there an AI tool that can tell us what tattoo will actually not look terrible in a few years?
No, because they all will. 100%. They all will. Eventually, they will look bad. So enjoy them.
My husband got something that was supposed to be a dragon on his chest, which now just looks like a giant blob of ink. And I'm like, wow, that was probably not good to start with, honestly, but really just looks not great now.
It happens, man. It's the joy of youth. It's the joy of youth. So
freedom in making your own decisions.
Yeah. And I think we could relate that back to building our own personal brands too. Absolutely. Sometimes we make bad decisions when trying to build those brands. And we learn from them. Hopefully we find ourselves, a year or two later and we've learned from some of those mistakes and we've been able to rectify those situations. But Ashley, in your experience, what are some of the outside the box approaches that you've seen that work for building a personal brand?
I think that the thing I want to say to start, and I've listened to, tons of episodes of you guys' podcast, but I feel like people make a personal brand and personal branding so much more complicated than it really needs to be at the very beginning. They're like, sure. Well, I don't know. What is my brand? Well, your brand is you, friend. Like, get in your camera, look at what you have the most pictures of, write down 5 topics that you can talk about for 30 minutes without prep. Like that is your brand. That's who you are. You can refine that and put it in different buckets, but like you already are your brand. You just have to figure it out a little bit. And I just think people are like, and I even said this, like, I felt like for a long time, I had to have a logo and I had to have all this like really super branded stuff, and that I couldn't have a personal brand until I had all the things.
Mm-hmm.
And then when I was deciding to leave my job after 17 years in the same spot, I was like, okay, well, we're going to give this a shot anyway. And just kind of went for it. And then my personal brand kind of came out of my own writing and posting and just showing up as myself on LinkedIn. And so just from that standpoint, like a personal brand is not quite as difficult as everybody makes it. But for sales teams, they kind of have to figure out a way to have a personal brand, but a cohesive team brand at the same time. And that can prove difficult because everybody is so different. But again, I think that a lot of sales teams overcomplicate what that really means. It just means having your sales team members show up as themselves, but still talk about the things that they do and the things that your products do. But it's not like a pitch slap in a video every single time you post. You know, I mean, I post about yoga, I post about sales, I post about shitty pitch slaps in my DMs, things like that. So
Can't relate. We've
you
never
know, it all
gotten
kind of goes
those.
together with the sales team too, the same way. But sales teams need like way more tools often because it's B2B, obviously, and there's way much more noise. It takes, you know, longer to catch the interest of people, especially in like service-based businesses. And so to figure that kind of thing out, because everybody that wants to provide a service-based business is expert at what they're providing, but they aren't all experts at sales, yet they are all selling themselves and salespeople.
Yeah.
And so like learning some of those things. But so ChatGPT, I know you guys are well aware about ChatGPT. And
What's ChatGPT?
Larry wrote an entire
What
book
is
with that,
that?
right?
I don't know what that is.
What
Okay, but
is
people
it?
think, but though that's the thing. So I teach yoga on Wednesday afternoons. I go in and I chit chat a little bit before my class comes in. I'm talking to the girl at the desk, and I mentioned how I had asked ChatGPT to make me a contract for something, and it asked me if it was for my yoga business or my sales coaching business.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, we are now best friends because you know to ask me that question. And she was like, what? How did it know that? You know, I mean, just people don't have any clue.
Yeah.
And so like super cool things for sales teams that are not intuitive to salespeople who haven't been introduced to ChatGPT. If they aren't good writers, but your marketing team puts out these awesome posts all the time, rather than repost that post, copy and paste what the marketing team wrote, throw it in ChatGPT, tell it to make it in this voice and make it more of a story, then put that on your own post and make it a post. You're still talking about the same thing, but you use some AI to make it sound a little bit different and not like a marketing post. And that is gold for them, because for so many sales teams, we are all very comfortable like being our brand and being ourselves and showing up. But so many people are like, I can't write. I don't know how to write. Like, that's just not something I do. Or, you know, for me, like, I don't love videos, but I do them. I try at least.
Yeah.
And they just are like petrified to put out anything that might, I don't know, spark something or make somebody look the wrong way. But that's what part of being your personal brand is, understanding that the people who relate to you will come to you. And the people that you don't need as clients will be repelled by what you are posting.
Yeah. I want to even back up a little bit, because something that you were saying at the beginning, just the idea of sales teams and like each person having their individual personal brand. One of the things that I've noticed is, especially with like larger companies, the companies don't want that. And the companies are afraid that if like their people start posting, it's going to be a problem. But they're missing such a huge opportunity, because you can turn every single employee of your company into basically a lead gen source if you're letting them like create that personal brand.
Absolutely. And there are companies who get it out there, and they're the ones who are in the SaaS space, and like some companies that I can think of that have a strong brand on LinkedIn are like Sendoso and SendSpark. I mean, but all of their members are presenting content on the platform. And so, but there are, like you said, so many companies still look at the platform as like a job posting board and just like a resume update. But it's become so much more than that. And I think, like you said, it benefits them to promote their people having a voice.
Yeah.
And if you promote that, then they will talk about your company more often. You know, they will talk about how good the culture is and how much fun their coworkers are and things like that. And that's good for your whole business. So, but there are so many people just scared of promoting the employees, just promoting themselves.
Yeah.
But, you know, I mean, I even think even in that aspect, like people still know where that person works. So if they're creating, you know, happy culture and growing an engaged following, you know, what of it? There are companies that give people like templated stuff to post, and you can just tell every
Sure.
time that it's
Yeah.
not their voice and that
Yeah.
it's just a templated thing. So I do not
Yeah.
love that.
I had this conversation a couple weeks ago with Liam, who we all know from Baddest Business Summit, that companies are afraid to let their people create those personal brands and create content and become thought leaders. They're afraid that their people are going to get poached, but they're not realizing that they're going to anyway. Like recruiters are going to recruit. That's what they do. So whether it's just based off of like their job description or based off of their content, they're going to be like recruiting. But if you're letting them do like have their own voice, have their own brand, creating that positive culture, they won't want to leave. It doesn't matter if recruiters are reaching out to them.
Exactly. And that right there, what you just said, that is the part that all the companies need to get on board.
Yes.
Because if that is your problem, if that is what you think your problem is with LinkedIn, then your problem is much bigger than people posting on LinkedIn. That means you're not giving them enough of what they need. You know, they're not, you know, supporting them and making them feel comfortable. And I've seen posts about that on LinkedIn too. And I've always felt like leadership should be more concerned about you growing yourself than about keeping you there. So like keep growing and be proud of your employees when they move on to the next step. You know, I mean, don't try to keep them there by hindering their writing freedoms.
Yeah.
As a leader, are you not supposed to nurture and help your employees grow and then be proud of their accomplishments and their growth?
Yeah.
I think it's a direct reflection back on the leadership if you're
Absolutely.
not seeing that.
I mean, the word is lead. Like you're supposed to be leading them somewhere, not just keeping them in one spot.
From that point, the leaders need to also be creating on LinkedIn. And there are so many founders, so many startups, so many brands that will come to me and be like, I want to grow my brand on LinkedIn. And I'm like, cool, start posting on your own profile, like now, like yesterday. And I just had coffee with a girlfriend this week and we were talking about this, and she's a welder and she's starting a welding shop out of her garage. She's fantastic. I love this girl. She's also in sales. Oddly enough. And so we were chatting and she was like, I really want to grow my welding brand on LinkedIn. And I was like, well, sis, you got to start posting then. Like you got to post the videos on your page. You got to post post pictures and talk about the welding, but talk about your family. She also has a young daughter who's been through cancer treatment twice. And so she has relatable things, which is funny that I just said that because I was thinking earlier about the trauma stories because it came up in a podcast and I don't have one, just so we know.
Must be nice.
Yeah. I've got one for every occasion, so I just don't share them. You know,
I've got a Rolodex.
Yeah, Jeff is amazing, and I was like, she's like, it just feels so uncomfortable, and I was like, but the authenticity is where it makes it less uncomfortable. If you know that you are showing up as you, then what's there to worry about?
hey, let me jump in there real quick because you're saying it's so uncomfortable. I want to make sure I understand what you're saying there. So, your friend, your girlfriend there, doesn't want to share the story of her daughter going through cancer treatment because it feels so awkward. Is that what I heard you say?
No, she actually does share the story. She just doesn't share it very often and in the context that you could use it for content on LinkedIn. Like when she has posted about it, it has been very like vulnerable and open and like this just happened in the last 60 days while I haven't been here, yada yada, where you guys haven't seen me. But those posts, you know, always gather all kinds of engagement. And you know, those things are like wounds that other people have that they want to share with her, which is part of what, you know, a brand is a person. Buying from someone is buying from a person, not from a business. You know what I mean?
Says
Like
that all the time.
yeah. I mean, I was talking to it was Liam. It was Liam. And I was like, should I be changing the name of my business to just like Ashley Beck Cuellar Coaching? And he was like, no, because everybody's just buying Ashley Beck Cuellar. They don't really care what the name of the company is anymore. Like they don't even think about that. Which to be fair, I don't wholeheartedly agree with that. But I do agree that it's the person. Like at
Yeah.
Perk, and I used to say that all the time. I worked for Perk for 17 years. And I was like, I mean, most of my clients may leave if I leave because they're working there because of the way I operate. So,
Well, and
but
that's a huge challenge too, though. So I think that begs the question of how do you overcome that? You know, I was a part of a focus group last night for a networking organization here in town, and the networking organization was founded by one gentleman. He has been a part of it. He started it and he carried it for 36 years. So do the math. He's a little older. He's having to step down. They have new leadership, but everyone is still trying to replicate we call it I called it his name's Bill Wallace, the Bill Wallace effect, because
okay.
everybody came to this organization because Bill Wallace made you feel so amazing. He greeted you, he coached you. You just, man, when Bill Wallace walks in the room, it just lights up. It's amazing. And now that Bill has stepped down, kind of struggling a little bit to put butts in seats. So
Yeah.
that is very, very common too. I mean, my red hat, people want to work with the red hat guy. So if my business is growing to the point where the red hat guy can't be on every call, how do you make that transition? How do you transition from the Bill Wallace effect or the red hat effect to actually grow your business beyond just what you can personally do?
Honestly, I think I focused, even I was in full cycle sales, but I focused a lot on the relationship and the connection, because if I did that, then they trusted me. And when I had a new product or solution that I thought fit for them, they would accept it. I think that where it gets lost a lot nowadays is the way a sales cycle works. And if it works the same way in like a networking company or any company that somebody's building, it's like you set the meeting, then I'll do the meeting. And then once it's closed, we'll pass it to the client success. You know, it's just like so broken.
Yeah.
And it's not continuous full life cycle thing. But for a founder type thing like that, where it's like everybody's coming for Bill, kind of like Bill should have started 10 years ago trying to bring somebody up so that it was Bill and Kathy, or, whatever I mean, like something else
Close.
like
It's
that.
Casey. He started bringing Casey up, but it was only
Okay.
2 years ago. So the transition was very abrupt.
Yeah.
And there was a reason for that. I mean, there was some, I'm not going to go too deep into it, but there was some reasons for the transition being as abrupt as it was. But now we're actually seeing that ripple effect as well within the organization.
I was gonna say, I think if the founder can keep showing up at least once in a while and keep that, even if they're retired, like my dad's not really retired, but he shows up at the office all the time. And so like, as long as you're just showing up sometimes and being part of like big events or something like that for as long as you can, even once you're out of the business, then it still keeps you as part of the brand and makes people feel like you believe in the upcoming. You know what I mean? Like when you are showing up around the places, even after you've retired, it makes people believe in the next generation a little bit more.
I feel like that
Sure.
also makes it position you as like this was real and this was authentic. It wasn't just for a paycheck.
Yeah, absolutely. I totally agree with that. I totally agree. Well, and I think that transition too it's different with brand name companies, right? Like when you are basing it on your name and on your personality, because I mean, that's essentially what he was doing, basing a coaching and networking community based on his personality and his magnetism to being able to draw people in. And that's not really something that everybody has. And so it's going to be hard to replicate. And so just staying consistent in the brand a little bit, I think totally builds that trust in what's moving forward with it, at least in my opinion. But I mean, it's a tough one because there's plenty of places where, you've seen the person step down and then they're like, oh, well, I don't really care about that company anymore. Or like if the wrong person steps in, like I'm a Patagonia snob. I just love the company. I love all the things.
Oh, I
It's
thought
like
that was a
cost per
flower.
wear, out of control. But if like somebody came in, what'd you say?
I said I thought that was a flower. I
It's
had
a
no idea what the
petunia.
company. Yeah, like
I
a
know, well, you guys live
Patagonia.
in Texas, so you don't probably need that stuff very often. Though I did hear it was like 47 degrees there today.
It's a little chilly. A little chilly.
My windows are open. It's
But like
lovely.
if that leader left and somebody with a new philosophy came in, then I would feel weird about it. So as long as
Yeah.
the same philosophy is coming through too.
Yeah, the same philosophy's there. I mean, throughout, and I think that's absolutely critical is to still maintain that consistency in the brand, because
Yeah,
people are dedicated to that brand. They're dedicated to
absolutely.
that brand promise and that brand value. And we talk about podcasting a lot. And when we work with our clients to launch their podcast, one of the key things we come up with is what? The unique listening proposition. And we want to make sure you deliver on that unique listening proposition for your podcast. And it's the same thing for your brand. You have to continue to deliver on that unique selling proposition or that unique brand proposition that you're offering to, whether it be your networking organization or your clients or whatever it may be.
Well, and in that front, then is Casey. Casey, is that right? Is that what you
Yes.
told me
Yeah.
is the
Yep.
new
Yep.
come up?
Yep. Yep.
Does he do a good job of relaying his personal brand often and through that brand lens of the company?
Well,
Because that would
she
be
does an
very
amazing job.
advantageous.
Yes. She does an amazing job. And interestingly enough, though, and I don't typically go down this path, but it's a lot of 60 plus white males. There's a lot of white and blue hair that's in there. And so it's very, very difficult to make this transition because
Yep.
there is a lot of, we'll call it tradition in
Yep.
this space that is very difficult to overcome.
Yep. Definitely. Well,
Yeah.
and I mean,
And
so
Sarah,
the
stop all
clientele has
stop, Sarah, stop all the looks, stop all the eye popping, stop all the nonsense.
You get mad at me when
Uh-uh.
I say something is male,
Dial it
pale, and
back,
stale, but
dial it back, dial it back.
But for real, so part of the win is that the clientele has to change over too. The
yeah.
old guys are going to retire and go away, and there has to be a new crowd, a new era.
Yeah.
And when you very first started telling this story, I almost stopped you to say, so the first problem is that we're still doing things the exact same way we were doing things 50 years ago.
36
Because-
years ago. Yes.
I feel
yeah.
like that's super common with groups like that. Like there's another one that we're a part of and they struggle to get younger members involved. And yet I go and I was 28 and one of the people looks at me and says, "What can I possibly learn from you at your age? You're so young." I'm like,
I know.
okay, this is why you can't get younger members.
Exactly.
You treat them
It
like
really
they're
is.
children.
Totally.
It was interesting last night because we had a 25-year-old guy there on the focus group as well. And it literally got testy, like it got confrontational because the little 25-year-old, I say little, he's a great guy, and I don't mean to be disrespectful to him at all. John, you're a great guy. Sorry. The younger 25-year-old gentleman expressed his feelings on how the group treats Gen Xers and younger individuals. And then, of course, one of the older individuals instantly contested that. You're speaking for an entire generation, and I have kids that are your age and younger, and they don't feel the way you feel. And your dude, it just exploded. It was insane.
Yes.
And I was like, oh my God, I did not expect to see this tonight. But there's so much resistance. I don't even know I almost said the F word. I don't know where this conversation's going. I think it's valuable, but somehow I hijacked it with the whole thing there. But
this has become a coaching call for Casey, and she's not even here.
Yeah, she's not even on the call.
But
We'll send you an invoice when you listen
really
to this.
important, even back to like the story of branding and all that kind of stuff. If you can speak to all generations on a team, then you are winning and you are ahead of other people for sure. And so I actually have found that one of my niches kind of is sales teams like that. So like the one I did in Austin, I had 70-year-olds in the room who we were building their LinkedIn page for the very first time.
Mm-hmm.
And I had 25-year-olds in the room who had a nice one built and understand what it should look like to be put together, but don't really use it. Like they still use it as just a resume holder. And so teaching all of those people in the room at the same time, and most of them were on the higher end, like 50, 60, 70. But honestly, since that was a month ago, since then, it has been 3 of the older gentlemen who have reached out to me to ask for more help. So it's the young kids thinking that the old guys don't know how to do it and like treating them that way. And it's the old guys thinking that the kids have all the tricks and tools, which we do. And we'll talk about that next. But that they don't understand them and they don't want to try. So if the guys don't want to try and don't want to try to be a part of the new age, then of course the young guys are going to be like, forget you then.
Yeah, it's the old guys, the old dog new tricks ideology.
Yeah.
It's like, what am I going to learn at this point?
I'm feeling like I probably should have dyed my beard before we got on this call. I mean, I'm just thinking because I'm looking like one of the old guys today. I need some just for men going here to help me out. But hey, let's transition over to some of those tools.
Yeah.
Speaking of the unique listening proposition, that's what we
Yeah.
promised at the beginning of the
I know,
episode.
right?
Yeah.
I thought about that when you said that. I was like, we're going way off
Mhm.
here.
Yeah, let's go to some of those tools because you mentioned several while we
Yeah.
were in the green room there, and I think it'd be great to share those with our audience as well. So,
Yeah.
what's one of the tools that you just love that
Okay.
most folks don't know about?
Well, so people know about sending cookies and food. Two of the things are gifting platforms because I loved gifting clients. So part of what I'm trying to teach sales teams is cold calls and crappy marketing emails are not going to do the job anymore. You have got to do better than that and reach
Sure.
out to the person a little bit more. And so there is a company called Grove Cookie Company, and they are veteran and female owned, and they are out of Oregon, and you can order them branded with stickers and stuff like that to send to your customers in these little 4-packs in these cute little boxes. And it's so simple, and it's like literally no one doesn't like cookies, and if they don't like cookies, they absolutely know someone who does, and they will still appreciate the gift. And so it's a really great company just to support, and I support them also because the owner, Grayson, shows up on LinkedIn and uses his presence on LinkedIn, which, what a genius, a bunch of businesses that need to send gifts to people. And that's how he's growing his business. So,
Nice.
and it's nice to like send them to clients, and then the clients get hooked on them and go to Grayson also. But I never would have known about that without being on LinkedIn. So LinkedIn is a super important tool too.
Yeah.
But the gifting king of the business is a company called Sendoso, in my opinion. There are other competitors, but Sendoso is fantastic. They, first of all, very intuitive gifting platform for companies that they can sign up and be able to have all their employees have a certain budget that if they want to send a gift, they can go in and pick a gift and send it off to their client. But recently, they released this AI tool that like totally blew my mind. Because I love gifting, but sometimes it's hard if people don't have a lot out there about themselves. I mean, Google can find out a lot, but you want to be intentional with the gift, right?
Sure.
And so I think it's called Alice, but I might be wrong about that. Alice by Sendoso. I could be wrong. Anyway, you can take it. You can take it to somebody's profile, and it can analyze their profile and suggest a gift for that person. And I think it even maybe suggests multiple gifts in multiple price ranges.
Sure.
But it's like, it's just not something everybody thinks about. Even if you have like chess champion in your headline, some people might not think like, oh, well, why would I send a chess champion something about chess? But they probably love chess, so just send them something like that. And Sendoso will just like tell you that quick. And you can do it on mass scale. Like you can have it look up a company's profile and it suggests a gift. So like
Wow.
for their people, super cool
That's
tool.
really interesting. There's a
Right.
platform that I use that is not nearly that, like, it's kind of more the opposite. It's called Sugar Wish. And
Ooh, I've never heard of that.
they have like all different categories of gifts, from like cookies and sweets and candles and wine tastings, like all of this different stuff, and like dog treats, coffee, tea. And they have vegan options, like gluten-free options, like all of this different stuff. And then the non-food things for people who are just like, stay away from all of it. But instead of you picking, you send a size gift to someone, and they get to go in and pick what they want.
Yes.
And it like ships.
Didn't we get that?
Yes.
What was her name? Aaliyah?
Yeah, Alea Harris sent us one, and then I started using it, and I've sent it. I use that to send as like referral gifts and stuff.
Okay, well, can we put that in like show notes or something, because I can't write it down right now?
Yes.
It will be in the show notes.
Yes.
Thank you. Well, I think for salespeople in particular, part of what makes Sendoso different than that is and I mean, don't get me wrong, I love platforms like that too. Like anything that I can just send to somebody as an easy gift to show that I am giving some extra thought to it is great. But there is a sense of I'm putting the onus on the person to pick. And while the intentionality is still there, what really grabs in the mess of salespeople, what really grabs somebody's attention is if you figured out something personal to them and picked it yourself and nailed it. You know what I mean? Like that there's no doubt that dude is going to call you if you figure it out, or that
Yeah.
chick isn't going to like blow you up as soon as she's like, oh my God, this is the Barbie doll I've been looking for my whole life.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
So gifting has been a really successful avenue
Yep.
for you. Is there
Yep.
anything else in
On the
the like
platform.
out of the box that outside of gifting that you recommend?
So the other one that I really like to use is called Crystal Knows. I feel like it's Enneagram. It uses Enneagram to tell you about your person. And so you can go to somebody's LinkedIn profile. Like, let's say I needed to ask you if I could be on the podcast. I would take my Crystal Knows to your LinkedIn profile, or to, I bet by now you can do it on like somebody's YouTube channel or podcast or maybe anything like that. I usually use it on LinkedIn. So that's why I'm saying I'm not real sure. But it would tell me, based on what it knows from your profile, what Enneagram style it thinks you are. And then from there, it lets me say, I need to send an email to Sarah it has a couple options in the drop down, but it's like set a meeting, ask for sponsorship, something like that. And then AI will tell you how to word that email a little bit, and then you can make it your own. And so it's super helpful when you maybe have already closed a meeting, but want to know what someone's meeting style is maybe going to be like. So do you need to come in direct with like a list of organized things to do? Or do you need to come in and be open and be like, so let's hear about your ideas. Tell me what you got. Because personalities will take those differently. And that first moment, if you can be in their personality style and be grooving with them through the whole meeting, you're so much more likely to get anywhere with them because you're identifying with their personality style. You know, like you can identify that, then your success rate is going to be a lot higher. So it's a great tool for that. And for salespeople who are trying to like make massive connection all the time. Because I truly don't believe, like through LinkedIn, through Crystal Knows, through things like that, like straight up cold calling a list of 1,000 people should not really be a thing anymore.
Oh, I'm
Like
surprised it
identify
is.
your best 100 targets instead and work
Yeah.
those. The other one I want to talk about, only because it's a really cool tool to be able to get video out there and like individualized video DMs to your customers, because video is so like on the rise that you gotta like get on the train at some point. And I have had extremely high success rates with video DMs to get attention and to get somebody to respond. And so I believe in it. There's a company called SendSpark that you can create with AI a video saying what you want to say that's like a pitch kind of, and only record it once. And then the AI, you say watermelon, and then the AI changes watermelon to the person's name everywhere in the video. But really, you're still saying watermelon in the background, so you can kind of tell on some names. But it's so outside the box that it actually, I mean, it works. It gets attention because nobody's even really sending personal DMs, let alone like company, like huge levels of DMs, you know, like thousands at a time or something like that. So from a sales aspect and from a business aspect that way, if you're trying to reach a ton of people, it's a great way to go. Like if you're trying to prospect like a Fortune 500 or something like that, and you can build a list of if you're pitching a sales tool, and build a list of all the salespeople that work in that building, and then send a video DM that talks about your product with their name at the front that they have no idea wasn't personalized. I mean, it's kind of gold.
My thing though, like I'm one of those people that I just hate doing videos. I'm like, I do this
too,
for a
girl.
living. I do video podcasts every single day. But when there's no one on the other side, I can't do it.
It's because, and I even heard you guys say this in one of the other podcasts as a, like using it as a describing term, but it's because of the talking head syndrome. I do not enjoy having my camera sitting in front of me and just talking to my camera, right? Like that just feels weird to me. But I have made videos with like CapCut and some things like that, doing like voiceovers. So like me doing yoga on fast speed or something like that. And I talk about, like, I just do a voiceover on the video. So like just the talking head videos, super uncomfortable for me. If I can like be creative with it and turn it into a different video, then I like that, but it takes a lot of time. And so I'm like, how can I do this more efficiently? I don't know. And so one of the things that I'm kind of known for on LinkedIn, one of my like little branding things that I started doing a while back, is I'll pop on and do a video that is like a breathing like taking a deep breath together. So like getting settled in like you would in a yoga class, roll your shoulders back, breathe in, close your eyes, all that shit. And then we usually just do one breath, maybe two, and that's it. And those I am comfortable with because I'm doing something that other people are like responding to, even though I don't get to see their response. So that feels comfortable. But the other stuff is just, I don't know. When I'm just like standing here telling you what an expert I am at a bunch of things, I don't know. It doesn't work for me.
Yeah, I've just been, instead of like creating videos specifically for platforms, I just cut up the videos I'm in for podcasts and post those. So
I know.
that's like my baby step into
I know.
this.
That's good though. That's good. Another one of your podcasts, a guy was on here who I'm going to go follow on LinkedIn, but he was talking about the video feed, which you guys knew that LinkedIn had, and he didn't even really know yet, but it is like an Instagram style Reels feed like that. If your video gets sucked into that feed, it is ridiculous. Oh, this is funny. Since this is what we're just talking about, I was like, salespeople, you got to follow up on your leads. Even if you sent me a contract, it might be sitting there. And it's not that I'm ignoring it. It's that my kid needs chicken nuggets and my dog needs let out and I got shit to do. So then it's down here in my inbox and I can't see it anymore. And so you got to come back and be like, hey, don't forget. You know what I mean? And that's all the video was. It was like 30 seconds. It got 500,000 views.
Damn.
Right? It's like, but it's that there is no magic sauce to getting sucked into that feed. It's just like some random algorithm popping people in and out, I feel like. So, but so I try to do them sometimes, but even, like going viral is not really all it's cracked up to be. And it may get you a ton of eyeballs, but it's not really bringing relationships or anything like that. Like I don't even have TikTok, first of all, but another creator on LinkedIn who kind of is the male version of me, like sales guy and, trying to help teach social selling. He tried TikTok for a while, about 6 months ago. And like your other guest said, he got lots of views, but all the comments and all the engagement, he said was awful and like so rude and like just people saying mean things or people not caring and things like that. And that is why us like LinkedIn people are so devoted to LinkedIn, because it is like super supportive people who are actually really smart and wise and have good advice and good things to say. And it's not trolls. You know what I mean? Like it's usually not. I mean, there's some dudes that get on chicks pages sometimes and say stupid shit like, well, maybe if you would just get yourself a good man, you wouldn't have to work so hard. Hey.
Has that ever worked for anyone?
I don't know.
It's has anyone ever married the guy who was like catcalling them at a construction site? I don't understand. I don't understand. No. I just don't. But really on that note,
especially on a platform where other people can see you, like,
your boss can see you. But on that note, where can people find out more about you, get in touch with you, all the things?
The best place to find me is LinkedIn. I'm there every day. I post almost every day. So that's the best place to get a hold of me, and also the best place to like learn more about me, because I post very authentically and vulnerably all the time. You can find out all kinds of stuff there. I do have a website, salessparkcoaching.com. It is not prepared quite yet, but it is in the works. So that would be a good place to.
Eventually. Yes, Larry is generally the king of these closes because he's really good at segues. I am not. So with that, he's Larry Roberts. I'm Sarah Lotzi, and we'll talk to you next week.
Good job.